Michael DeSanta is one of Rockstar's most layered characters, mainly because almost every part of his life in GTA 5 is built on some kind of deception.
We do what we gotta do to survive. Brad got shot. You saw it. He didn't make it. I got shot. I did. That's it.
By the time the story begins, he is already hiding a fake death, a secret deal with the FIB, and the real truth about what happened in North Yankton. On the surface, he looks like a retired criminal living a comfortable life in Los Santos, but that life only holds together as long as nobody starts digging into the past. Some of Michael's lies are direct and intentional, while others come from the things he chooses not to say because the truth would destroy the people and relationships around him. He even lies to himself, especially when it comes to the idea that he truly wanted to leave crime behind for good. What makes Michael so interesting is not just the number of lies he tells, but how long he manages to live inside them before everything slowly starts falling apart. And when you trace all of those lies back to where they began, almost all of them lead to the same moment: the fake death in Ludendorff. This is the foundational deception that every other lie in Michael's story is built on top of. In 2004, 9 years before the events of GTA 5, Michael Townley was a career bank robber working alongside Trevor Philips and Brad Snider across the American Midwest. By that point, the pressure around him was growing. Dave Norton, an FIB agent, had tracked him down, and Michael had started realizing that the life he was living, especially with someone as unstable as Trevor, was eventually going to catch up to him and possibly put his family in danger. So instead of trying to disappear normally, Michael made a private deal with Dave Norton. The setup centered around an upcoming robbery at a cash depot in Ludendorff, North Yankton. Michael would tip Dave off about the job ahead of time, and Dave would be waiting nearby with a sniper rifle during the escape. The plan was for Trevor to be killed during the ambush, for Michael to fake his own death after taking a controlled shot while wearing body armor, and for Brad to be taken into custody. In return, Michael would be declared dead, given a new identity, moved to Los Santos with his family, and allowed to start over. Dave benefited too, because taking down a notorious robbery crew would massively help his career inside the FIB. But the plan immediately started falling apart. During the Ludendorff robbery, the police response was far heavier than expected, and the crew had to shoot their way out. In the middle of the chaos, Brad stepped into Dave's line of fire at the wrong moment. The bullet meant for Trevor hit Brad instead, leaving him mortally wounded. Trevor escaped into the North Yankton wilderness without realizing what had really happened, while Michael was shot as planned and convincingly played dead long enough for the setup to work. Brad was left behind and later died from his injuries. From that moment on, Michael Townley officially stopped existing. He changed his name to Michael DeSanta, moved his family into a mansion in Rockford Hills, and continued secretly paying Dave Norton to keep the arrangement buried. That fake death became the foundation for Michael's entire new life, and every lie he tells throughout GTA 5 is ultimately connected back to protecting what happened in Ludendorff. The deal itself was basically one massive lie by omission. Michael's family knew he had a criminal past, but they did not fully understand the arrangement that was keeping them safe in Los Santos. They had no real idea how dependent their entire lifestyle was on Michael's ongoing relationship with Dave Norton, or how fragile the whole setup actually was behind the scenes. What made the situation even messier was that this was never a clean, official witness protection arrangement. Dave was not acting through some proper FIB program when he made the deal with Michael. This was a private and deeply corrupt agreement between two people, one of whom just happened to work for the federal government. Dave benefited from it personally, using Michael's money and cooperation to strengthen his own career while also protecting himself from exposure. That is why Michael becomes trapped later in the story once Steve Haynes starts pulling him back into FIB operations. On the surface, it looks like Michael is just being pressured into doing dirty work for the government. But underneath that, the real issue is that he cannot simply walk away or explain the truth to his family without exposing the entire foundation of his new life. The moment the Norton deal comes fully into the open, everything connected to Ludendorff comes with it. The staged death, Brad's fate, Trevor's betrayal, and Michael's role in setting the whole thing up. So even when Michael clearly wants out, he keeps getting dragged deeper into FIB business. because he is not only protecting himself anymore, he is protecting the original lie that every other part of his life now depends on. The problem for Michael was that the original plan never fully worked. Trevor survived North Yankton, disappeared for years, and eventually resurfaced in Blaine County with his own version of what had happened still firmly in his head. As far as Trevor understood it, Michael had died during the escape, Brad had been arrested and sent to prison, and he was the only one who managed to get away clean. To keep that version of events alive, Dave Norton secretly maintained the illusion for years by sending Trevor fake letters written as though Brad was still alive behind bars. Trevor believed they were genuine, and for nearly 9 years, he had no real reason to question them. The whole purpose of those letters was simple. As long as Trevor believed Brad was sitting in prison somewhere, he had no reason to start digging into what really happened in Ludendorff. He would not go looking for a body, question Michael's death too deeply, or connect the robbery setup to something bigger. In a strange way, the letters kept Trevor emotionally tied to a version of the past that protected Michael completely. That is why Trevor's return becomes such a problem the moment he recognizes Michael during the Vangelico jewelry store heist coverage. Trevor instantly notices the style of the robbery and realizes Michael might still be alive. From there, Michael has to manage the situation carefully in real time, because Trevor keeps bringing up Brad and the old crew during their conversations. And every single time Brad comes up, Michael gets uncomfortable. He changes the subject, gives vague answers, or responds in ways that avoid saying anything concrete. He knows that a direct lie about Brad could eventually be exposed, especially with Trevor asking questions. So he tries to survive by staying technically non-committal instead. The game shows this pattern multiple times, and Michael's discomfort becomes more obvious every time Trevor pushes closer to the truth. Eventually, though, the entire story starts collapsing under its own weight. Trevor keeps pulling at loose threads, keeps questioning things, and by the time the mission Bury the Hatchet happens, he is already close to figuring out that something about Ludendorff never made sense. Because the truth is that Brad never went to prison at all. Brad died in North Yankton, and his body was buried inside the grave marked with Michael Townley's name. The gravestone says Michael is buried there, but the remains underneath belong to Brad, which means the fake grave itself is basically physical proof of the entire setup. And Michael knew that the whole time. Even when Trevor drags him back to North Yankton looking for answers, Michael still tries to stop him from opening the coffin. He claims he never really thought much about who might actually be buried there, which is such an obviously weak answer that Trevor barely even entertains it. Trevor directly asks who is inside Michael's grave, and Michael responds like it is something he somehow never considered, despite the fact that the grave exists because of the deal he made in the first place. The moment Trevor opens the coffin and sees Brad's body, 9 years of lies collapse almost instantly, because that discovery does not just prove that Brad is dead, it explains the entire structure of what really happened during the Ludendorff heist. If Brad's body is inside Michael's grave, then Michael's death was staged. And if Michael's death was staged, then somebody had to know about the robbery ahead of time. Trevor immediately realizes what that means. Michael set the crew up. That is why the confrontation escalates so quickly. The second Trevor understands the truth, both of them end up pointing guns at each other in the cemetery. The standoff only ends because Wei Cheng's tried enforcers suddenly arrive after tracking Trevor separately because of the earlier conflict involving the O'Neill brothers. Trevor escapes during the chaos, leaving Michael behind to deal with the attack alone. Michael eventually gets overwhelmed, captured by the triads, and taken back to Los Santos, where he ends up hanging from a meat hook inside a slaughterhouse until Franklin comes to rescue him. And from that point forward, Michael and Trevor's relationship is never really the same again. The hostility stays there for most of the remaining story, and the only reason they eventually work together again in Ending C is because they end up sharing bigger enemies than each other. Another major lie Michael keeps alive throughout GTA 5 is the idea that he truly wanted to stay out of crime, and this one is different from the others because it is a lie he tells himself too. At the start of the game, Michael presents himself as a retired criminal trying to live a normal suburban life in Rockford Hills. He talks like his criminal past is behind him. He goes to therapy, complains about his family, and acts like he wants to change, but his actions constantly contradict that image. The moment he gets a believable excuse to return to crime, he takes it. The first major example is the Vangelico jewelry store heist. After Michael destroys the wrong house while chasing Amanda's tennis coach, he finds out the property belongs to Martin Madrazo's mistress, leaving him with a massive debt. That is a real problem, but Michael immediately falls back into armed robbery as the solution. From that point on, the same pattern repeats. Every return to crime gets explained as something forced on him by circumstances, even though he clearly slips back into that world very naturally. The game directly points this out through Michael's therapy sessions with Dr. Friedlander. At one point, Michael admits that the only times he feels competent are when he has a gun in his hand or a price on his head. That line explains a lot about him. The quiet life in Rockford Hills was never really enough for him, even if he kept pretending it was. And that makes the Ludendorff betrayal even darker. Michael betrayed Trevor, indirectly got Brad killed, and faked his own death to build a peaceful life that he never actually seemed capable of enjoying. And that same dishonesty does not just affect Michael personally, it completely shapes his marriage too. By the start of GTA 5, Amanda and Michael's relationship is already falling apart. And a big reason for that is because Amanda never fully understands the reality their life is built on. She knows Michael has a criminal past and understands, in a general sense, that they disappeared into a new life for protection. But she does not know the full truth behind the deal with Dave Norton, how unstable the arrangement actually is, or what really happened in Ludendorff. The flashbacks during Bury the Hatchet make this especially clear. Michael convinces Amanda to accept the move to Los Santos by framing it as the safest and best option for the family. In one sense, that is true, but what he leaves out is the reason the deal even exists in the first place. He created the situation himself by setting up his own crew. And even years later, Michael still keeps large parts of himself hidden from her. Throughout the game, he constantly acts like he is trapped in a miserable family life with people who do not appreciate him, while at the same time being responsible for a huge amount of the chaos surrounding them. He hides his real motivations, avoids emotional honesty, and keeps pretending he is more disconnected from crime than he actually is. At the same time, the game does not portray Amanda as innocent either. Their marriage is toxic from both sides. Amanda cheats on him, Michael emotionally withdraws, and both of them spend most of the story blaming each other for how broken things have become. But underneath all of that is a much deeper problem. The entire foundation of their life together is built on half-truths Michael never fully explains. That pattern of half-truths and hidden motives also carries over into Michael's relationship with Franklin. When Franklin first enters the story, he has no connection to Michael at all. He is just trying to repossess Jimmy DeSanta's car for Simeon, but Michael inserts himself into that situation in a way that immediately changes Franklin's life. And from that point on, the relationship between them is never completely equal. Michael presents himself as a mentor figure, and to be fair, there is some genuine care there. He clearly sees potential in Franklin, gives him opportunities, and treats him more seriously than most people around him do. But at the same time, Franklin slowly gets pulled into problems that were never really his to begin with. A lot of the danger Franklin ends up dealing with comes directly from Michael's baggage. Because of Michael's connections to the FIB and Steve Haynes, Franklin eventually gets dragged into government operations, high-risk robberies, and conflicts involving people he never originally signed up to deal with. Michael rarely gives him the full picture up front. Franklin is usually reacting to situations after he is already inside them. And over time, that creates a sense of loyalty that benefits Michael as much as it benefits Franklin. By the end of the game, both Steve Haynes and Devin Weston are using Franklin's connection to Michael as leverage, which shows how deeply tied Franklin has become to problems that started long before he was involved. The game leaves some room for interpretation on whether Michael is deliberately manipulating Franklin or just being careless with him. But Franklin himself eventually realizes how much chaos he has been pulled into because of Michael's life. After everything Michael hides from Franklin, though, none of it carries the same weight as what he hides from Trevor. Because the truth is that Trevor was supposed to die in Ludendorff. When Michael made the deal with Dave Norton, the original plan was for Trevor to be killed during the ambush. Michael knew Trevor was unstable, violent, and dangerous enough to eventually come after him if the truth ever came out. But the plan failed when Brad accidentally stepped into the line of fire, taking the bullet meant for Trevor instead. That changes the entire meaning of Michael and Trevor's relationship throughout GTA 5. When Trevor comes back and Michael acts like a frustrated but loyal old friend trying to move on from the past, there is another layer underneath it all. Michael is rebuilding a friendship with someone he originally planned to have killed. Trevor eventually figures out that Ludendorff was a setup, but the game never directly confirms how much he understands about Michael's original intention. By ending C, the two are able to work together again because they end up sharing bigger enemies than each other, but the tension never fully disappears. And honestly, that may be Michael's biggest lie in the entire game. Not the fake death, not the FIB deal, and not even the story about Brad. It is the fact that for almost a decade, he acted like Trevor was still his friend while knowing Trevor was never supposed to survive North Yankton in the first place. If you enjoyed this video and want more deep breakdowns like this, make sure to subscribe.